Struggling with your trading strategy? Need a helping hand with the French Open? Watch this video to find out my results of trading 30 matches on this year's French Open. So in this video we've got Sloane Stephens and Julie Nehmeyer. So this is a first round match in the French Open 2022, and as you can see I have laid the favourite in the match, but I haven't actually done this at the beginning of the second set, which is my usual entry point. I've done it in the midst of the second set. And as you can see, I've gone in for an average lay bet of £50 at odds of 1.19, and I've managed to back some of that out, 1875 of it at odds of 1.42. So essentially what I'm doing here is literally just removing my liability as the match progresses, with a view to trying to make at least the 1-to-1 ratio. That's my thought process at the time of doing this trade. So as you can see, it's on serve in the second set, 40 all, which basically means that Stephens is putting Nehmeyer under pressure. I felt as though this was a really interesting point of the match. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, I think I had a notification on this match, and I was probably just scanning, or probably noticed something that, a lot of money had gone into the market, or the odds were really favourable. Probably that the odds were really favourable, given the fact that Sloane Stephens, although she's coming towards the end of her career, you'd be hard pushed to bet against her, especially in a Grand Slam. And remember, we're trading here, so all we're really looking for is a positive movement in the odds. And I was confident that I would have been able to get that. And as you can see from the screen, I have, gotten that throughout the course of this match. So literally, I'm letting it play out in real time for you, because I think one of the things that's really important, especially if you are brand new to trading, is I think it's important that everyone realizes, especially if you are brand new, that it can take a long time in order to achieve your goal in the market. Yes, we can make profit very, very quickly. In a matter of seconds, we can go from being in the red to being in the green. But if you're wanting to trade successfully over a long period of time, scalping, which is basically like a quick trade, if that's part of your strategy, then yeah, that will work. But if you're brand new getting into it, one of the tips I'd give you is be prepared to be in the match for the long haul. Now, because this is a Grand Slam, as I'm sure you know, it's best of 3 sets it's always best of 3 sets for the women's matches, but it's also best of 5 for the men's matches. So if you're trading a men's match, I would always say be prepared, especially if you've gotten in towards the beginning of the match or the first set, be prepared to, go at least another 3 sets in order to get the desired result, your predetermined result. Because again, guys, it's important to remember that you should, if you're really wanting to take this seriously, you should have your predefined strategy nailed down before you enter your trade. That gives you the most chance to be able to respond accordingly, whatever happens. If it moves against you, you should be able to exit without too much of a loss. If it goes for you, you should be able to lock in some profit, and be able to keep going. But essentially, this video, as I sort of said at the beginning, is a 30 trade challenge. So what I'm looking to do here is test out my strategy over the course of 30 trades. So again, for the newbies to the game, you might find that you've found success in so much as you've made some profits on one strategy or the other. You may find that you're not 100% sure as to what your best strategy is. You might be in many different kind of circumstances and on many different paths on your journey to successful trading. Please do let me know in the comments below where you are. But one thing is for sure, my experience in the time that I've been trading has taught me that unless you know exactly why you've gotten into the trade and exactly what you're trying to do, you're going to make it very difficult for yourself to execute a winning and successful trade. So for me, my strategy, as I think it's developed as I've continued to trade, is that I like to lay low and back high, and I look for circumstances that will allow me to do that. I also look at the previous patterns within the match so far. I look to see have the odds reached my exit point previously in the match. I find that if they have, then that means that there's a probability, perhaps, that it will reach that again. So those are the things that I think about. If you look on my screen at the moment, you can see that I've put another back bet in at 1.55. Now, this brings me on to the next part of my thinking now and my strategy now. So when you're brand new to trading, you know that you've gotten into the market because it's very easy to get into the market, but sometimes the hardest thing is to actually get out and knowing when to get out. I couldn't tell you the amounts of money I've left on the table because I did not know when to come out of the market. So I've persevered. I've tried to make sure that I've been consistent, and I've tried to make sure that I'm dedicated to mastering this craft. And I've found that a range of around about 40, 50 clicks is a good range to secure some profit. So what I've done on this trade here, I've come in, as you can see, with average odds at 1.19, and then I've put in I've taken some out, as you can see, on average odds at 1.42, but I've also got a cover in bet there for 1.55. If you look at where the current odds are, they're at 1.26, and what I'm basically doing by putting in that 625 at 1.55 is I'm laying down a marker for myself. That's my top end. That's where I want to be, ideally, exiting this trade. That's my plan. So that's why I've got that there. And what I sometimes do is, dependent upon how the match is going, I may also put other cover-in bets in to lock in some profit as we go. That's why you can see my screen at the moment says I've got a £1.69 liability to make 31.25. Because I've hedged out some along the way, but I'm trying to do it at structured specific points within the match so that I'm not selling myself too short. So essentially, if I notice a period of like consolidation for maybe a game or two, or basically that means we've now entered into a range, and so if that range continues, then I may take some profits at that point, because that's now becoming a resistance point or a support point, whichever way you want to look at it. So it's things like that that I'm thinking of nowadays when I'm doing my trading, and I'm finding that it is helping me to have more balanced results. Please let me know in the comments below how things are going with your trading. Are you finding that you're needing to add more structure to the way that you trade? Are you finding that you also sometimes struggle with knowing when to exit, or knowing how much to hedge out if you are the trader that hedges out along the way? Let me know in the comments box below. But essentially, getting back to the match, as you can see, it's still on serve. Stevens has gone a game ahead in the match, so this is why we've got the green on the screen, basically, because it's going against form. Technically speaking, Neymar, she's in the winning position. She's got the first set. And because of that, technically speaking, she is nearer to winning the match. That's why her odds are still relatively low. That being said, Stevens again is putting pressure on her serve because we're at 30 all. So it's a delicately poised part of a game, as I'm sure you all know. 30 all, the next person who wins the next point, the person who wins the next point will get the game point. And if it's Stevens, that will turn out to be a set point, which will then equal, the match will then be leveled up, which is what we want. Because as you can see, we're now getting closer to our covering bet there of 1.55, because look, Sloane Stevens has now gotten the break point. So we'll let this play out. Let's see what happens, and let's see if she can get the break point. And I'm pretty confident that if she does, I mean, we're roughly about 10 clicks away from my covering bet here. So I'm pretty confident that if she does, well, she has, will get matched. Now, one thing I just want to mention here is clearly you can see from the screen that Sloane Stevens has just broken, and you can see that the odds have now gone to 1.66, and my covering bet was in at 1.55. This is the risk that you can sometimes run when you do this, because you may miss out on, if I didn't do that and waited until she broke and got the set and did it at 1.65, I would have had an extra 12 clicks, which would have been even more profit, but that was fine for me. So as you can see here, I'm just cashing out at the end of the set, because that's the next part of the strategy, to just basically trade the set and come out at the end of the set and move on to the next match. So that's what I've done here, and I've managed to equal it out, £11. So be sure to watch the next video to see how trade number 2 goes in my series of 30 trades on the French Open 2022.